the need for positive male role model figures, as well as like legitimate biological fatherhood to be embraced and celebrated, is something that we need to put more on the forefront of our culture. Because growing up with a single mother, my mom did the absolute best job that a single mom could ever do in trying to raise a son. But my mom didn't have to do it on her own. She had a village. She had my grandpa, she had my grandma, she had my uncle, she had church family. But that's not the case for everybody. And so I agree with you. It's something that I think that we would see so much less childhood trauma, so much less, adults having to deal with these type of, mental issues that they're dealing with, if we were to not only have fatherhood more highlighted and impactful, but also if we were to have healthy men being raised. Because I think a lot of us are still coping with a lot of the negative things that we've been taught and having to unlearn in the midst of fatherhood.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Elise. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is Brandon Leake. Brandon was the season 15 winner of America's Got Talent. He's a spoken word poet. He got the golden buzzer in the very first round by Howie Mandel, who you guys know was a guest right here on First Class Fatherhood. The link to my interview with Howie Mandel is down there in the show notes. Brandon Leake starts performances in Las Vegas at the Luxor beginning November 4th. It's exciting to have him on the podcast today. Get down there, smack the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Brandon Leake on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Brandon Leake. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Hello, thank you for the warm introduction and for inviting me to your platform. I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's start right here. How many kids do you have? How old?
I have two children. Both are under 2 years old. I have a son who in 6 days will be 2 months, and I have a daughter who is 19 months old, so a year and a half and some change.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. You got the Irish twins going on over there. If you could, Brandon, please take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah. So, as stated, my name is Brandon Leake. I am born and raised in Stockton, California. Still live here. My history is I was a hoop head for a long time. Went off to college, played Division II, dropped the ball, picked up a ballpoint pen, and started writing lyrics and doing poetry, in particular spoken word. And from there, did some traveling around the world, touring with my poems, taught, worked in nonprofit, tried out for America's Got Talent, didn't make it, tried out again, made it, and then inevitably won the show as the first spoken word artist to not only ever make the show, but also win it. So yeah, that's a little bit of a brief version of the story. And in the middle of all that, I had two children and got married.
Yeah, incredible stuff, Brandon. Yeah, what a wild journey you've had here. So take me to the beginning of that then. How old were you when you first became a dad, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
Yeah, man, I first became a dad in 2019. It was my daughter is a leap year baby, so February 29th. And it was a really wild thing. My daughter was born like 2 weeks before the pandemic started. So like I was able to be in like the delivery room. We were able to like do life as normal in that regard. And so it was a huge shift because I grew up without a dad in my life in terms of like my biological father. I had other people who played that role. But yeah, it was a dream come true because the only thing I ever longed to be when I was a young person was to be a father. And so it was scary because I knew that I would never be able to be as independent as I was before fatherhood. It was gratifying because I knew that I would be able to be a better father to my child than my dad was to me. And it was truly a blessing from God because she showed me so much more of who I not only am, but who I needed to become when she showed up into this world. And so, yeah.
Yeah, really good stuff, Brandon. And one thing I do talk about a lot on my show is the fatherless crisis that we have going on in our country. We got so many kids growing up without a dad or a father figure in the home. And it's never to take anything away. I always make the stipulation to say it's not to take away from the single moms that are working miracles out there. But I think the fact that so many kids are growing up without a father in the home is causing a lot of trouble. In my opinion, I think it's the number one social issue that we have going on. It's causing a lot of chaos in our society here. And I know that many people have spoken about this. You spoke about this in one of your poems. I know that you did during the America's Got Talent to your dad, which I thought was a wonderful moment there. What's your take on all of it?
Yeah, man. I think that we I think that we as a nation addressing, not even just as a nation, as the world addressing the need for positive male role model figures, as well as like legitimate biological fatherhood to be embraced and celebrated, is something that we need to put more on the forefront of our culture. Because growing up with a single mother, like my mom did the absolute best job that a single mom could ever do in trying to raise a son and trying to raise a child on her own. But my mom didn't have to do it on her own. She had a village. She had my grandpa. She had my grandma. She had my uncle. She had church family. But that's not the case for everybody. Like a lot of people have to make decisions on, yo, do I go to work or do I, stay home with my kids? Like, do I leave my 5 year old to watch my like 3 month old kid and make sure that this child is taken care of, or do I, you know, like spend part of our rent money to get a babysitter tonight? And those types of things are hard decisions that shouldn't have to be made. And our society, albeit whatever you want to throw at it, has had a number of factors that have impacted the fatherhood and its ability to be effective in our world. And so I agree with you. It's something that, like, I think that we would see so much less childhood trauma, so much less, adults having to deal with these type of, mental issues that they're dealing with, if we were to not only have fatherhood more highlighted and impactful, but also if we were to have healthy men being raised. Because I think a lot of us are still coping with a lot of the negative things that we've been taught and having to unlearn in the midst of fatherhood.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. And it's one of the major reasons I do this podcast here and bring on successful people like yourself, is that just to hear them attest to the fact that they've accomplished all these great things in life, but truly fatherhood gives them the most sense of fulfillment in life. And it's really something, I think somewhere along the line, it's gotten skewed where we're chasing all the material life and we're not really going after that thing that brings the most fulfillment in life. So I love the fact that like I said, you brought it to the forefront there. You're open about your relationship. And again, it never takes away. It's not to say every kid that grows up without a mom is going to drop out of high school, but 73% of kids that drop out of high school have no father in the home. So, I mean, it always seems to correlate with those statistics going down the line.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and I think an interesting part too to dive into is like, when fathers are present, how do we enable fathers to be able to be all of themselves, right? Because is fatherhood is just as necessary as motherhood is in the equation, because it takes two to be able to create this child, and it's going to take two plus more to be able to raise it. And I think both for the father and the mother, if we get healthier parents who are living lives that are fulfilling, that are displaying to their children exactly what it looks like to live a healthy, accomplished, and I'm not even saying like wealthy or anything like that, but like a life in which like their children can say like, yo, like I see my parents have joy in the midst of what they do. Like, I think that when we also begin to focus on that aspect of what fatherhood looks like, of what motherhood looks like, of what parenting looks like, I think you begin to see a shift and a generational change in youth who say, hey, like, I know my parents sacrificed, I know my parents worked hard, but also my parents had joy. They had love. They had fun in the midst of it all too. Because parenthood doesn't all have to just be like movies and stuff always show parenthood as this like task where the parents are always worn out and tired and all this other stuff. When in all actuality, as you said, like the greatest joy that we all have when we have children is seeing them grow up and accomplish their dreams and who they want to become. And we do the things that we do, whether it be you with this podcast, me with my poetry. We do these things as a means to be able to provide for them and being able to ensure that they'll have all the things that they'll need.
Yeah, right on. Good stuff, Brandon. And getting into you here as a dad, what would you say are the top values that you're hoping to instill in your kids growing up?
Yeah, I want them to I would say my top three would be faith, um, discipline, and a solid moral compass. Actually, I'll get rid of moral compass because I think that's tied into my faith one. I'll say honesty, um, and not just honesty to other people, but honesty to themselves. Like I think that those three would be the key ones I want them to have.
Yeah, really well said. And I think leaning into that faith aspect of it too. That's one of the. I'm a faith-based person myself. The most important part of my day is we sit down as a family every night together and eat dinner. We pray together, and it's to me. I think it's the if we could bring families back to the dinner table again. I think a little bit of faith, more family. I think those two things alone would solve 90% of the trouble that we're seeing in the country here.
Yeah, man. And like for myself, I agree with you. Like I know that my healing has all come from God. And my greatest longing for people is to not have behavior modification, but instead like really be able to find like true relationship in that regard, in which, is the most transformative aspect of all of it. So yeah, man, I agree with you.
Right, and let me jump into it with the two little ones there. What's your bedtime routine look like? Are you reading them poetry at night? Are you a storyteller? Are you a lullaby guy? How's bedtime working in your house?
So man, my daughter is like a huge mama's girl a lot of the time, especially during this current season. So like it's all about like mom during bedtime wanting her to read her stories and stuff. So I most of the time during her bedtime routine, I try to do bats with her where we'll like play little games, and I'll have like she has like these little characters that I'll be like, oh hey, look at this person, and like do that little stuff, and then yeah, and then like as she's getting ready to go down to bed, we'll read like maybe one or two stories, and then her mom will come in and put her down, or a lot of the time it's just her mom taking care of that role, and then I'll take my son and I'll just walk outside with him because he hates being inside unless he's sleeping. He loves being outside, looking up at the sky, being like, so love both of them to death though.
Yeah, very cool. And then getting into what you do, one of the things here, Brandon, as much as technology has evolved here, and it seems like it's gotten so much greater, we don't have people that are writing Shakespeare today. We don't have people who are making music like Mozart today. We don't have those that we don't have people painting like Michelangelo today. Like I feel like we've advanced in so many ways, but we don't have those natural things that would just seem to be in abundance years ago. I love the fact that you're bringing the spoken word, the poetry to the forefront here. It had to have sparked an interest in many, many kids across the country here. What kind of advice or what got you started in the spoken word poetry? And what advice do you have for dads or parents out there that have kids that are interested in something like what you're doing here?
Yeah, I think the reason why we see less of that type of art is because we as a society have not invested in creativity or not appreciated it enough. Like like how many parents actually want their kids to be artists growing up? You know what I mean? Most of them think like, oh, you're gonna be so poor, like you're not gonna make any money. And it's like, but we consume art every day, whether you consider this iPhone art or not. It really is, because the reality is an iPhone just has to be like functional. It doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't have to do anything. The car that you drive doesn't have to look nice. It just has to get from A to B. But we like the cars or the phones or the clothes that look good. And so I think that when we begin to really start looking at how much art is involved in our daily lives, we'll really appreciate creativity a lot more. So I think that's why you don't see as much of it anymore. And in terms of any kid or parent who wants to get their young ones more involved, I just say go get a notebook and tell them to start writing whatever's on their mind, whatever's in their heart. And like the biggest beauty of a notebook is that it doesn't judge you for what you put into it. Um,
Hold on one second. You dropped out there. You said whatever's in their heart, whatever's on their mind, and then you dropped out.
oh, sorry. But yeah, I think the most beautiful part about a notebook is that it won't judge you for what you put into it. And so I tell parents, I tell kids, I'm like, yo, just start writing. You don't have to be good to start, just start.
Yeah. Yeah, really good stuff. And I know you got the new album out now. I think it's Black Chakra, and you got the show coming up in Las Vegas. What can you tell the listeners about that? Where can they go to find out more about it?
Yes. So in terms of my album, it is entitled Level. It's myself and a poet out of Baltimore named Black Chakra. It is on every single streaming platform in the world, so you can listen to it anywhere, including YouTube and YouTube Music. My Vegas residency starts on November 4th. The first 2 nights of shows are already completely sold out. So if you want to come see us, then I would highly recommend you get your tickets as soon as possible before all of them sell out. It's a year-long running residency, but I will only be there for the first 5 weeks and then 1 week a month after that. So if you want to see me in it, then you'll want to make sure that you come early on and come holla at your boy.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to drop a link in the description of this podcast episode so my listeners can get over there, grab some tickets, check out more about what you do. What's next for you here, Brandon? What kind of plans or goals? Any more kids in the works for you? You going to try to break the tie there? What kind of goals you got for yourself coming up?
Yeah, for me, no more naturally born children as of right now. My wife's all good on that front. We have two, and we got our boy and our girl, so I think that's a really good spot to be in. And but definitely want to adopt another child. I think that's something that we as a society need to do a better job at caring for those who don't have homes. And so but yeah, I got a movie coming out in February, as long as it gets done getting edited, prayerfully. And some other stuff I legally can't talk about yet because we have to wait until people sign their end of contracts. But no, in terms of family, just trying to be the best that I can be.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome stuff. And congratulations on all your success. Sounds like so many exciting things coming your way here. So good for you. The last thing I want to hit you with here, Brandon, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Yeah. So for the about to be father or new dad, be patient with yourself. Be patient with your partner. It's a stressful time. It's a beautiful time. You're going to learn new things about each other. You're going to learn new things about yourself. And in the midst of that, be okay with everything not going according to plan.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. It's been a lot of fun for me. I got to say, Brandon Leake, you're a first class father all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.